Hello, it's Lauren. I haven't vlogged in a while, and I haven't been, and I don't know if I will put this vlog on Facebook or not. I was thinking about posting this particular vlog on Facebook and YouTube, but if Facebook will take it, because Facebook is really weird about how much you can upload. Like, you can only upload like so many minutes of Facebook. Right now, I want to say it's the 23rd of April of 2023, and today's Sunday evening. I'm going to be talking about two things: autism awareness and Easter. Well, so April is Autism Awareness Month, and April the 2nd is Global Autism Awareness Day, and most of the times Easter falls in April, and Easter is the most important Christian holiday because it's the day that Jesus died for our sins on the cross, and he arose from the dead. He died on Good Friday, so that way we can all go to heaven if we're Christians. So, well, whatever. As most of you guys know, I was diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder. I was high functioning type, and I was diagnosed with it back when nobody knew about it, which was back in January of 1987, but they called it pervasive developmental disorder back then. And right now, the prevalence of autism is 1 in 36 kids are diagnosed somewhere on the autism spectrum. And back when I was born in 1981, there was only 1 in 10,000 kids that were diagnosed as autistic. There's so many misconceptions about autism, and by doing this, I want to talk as briefly as I can about it. Let's talk about the myths and the facts about autism. Myth: it's caused by poor parenting. No, it's not. We don't know. The question is, we don't know what causes autism, and therefore there is no way that you can prevent it from happening. They told my mom that back when her and dad took me to Cleveland Clinic, back when I was 5, they said and even back then, they said it was probably something genetic that I inherited. And yes, since then, it has long been known that there's a strong genetic component to all forms of autism. The next thing is on the agenda: shots cause autism. Myth, big fat myth. That has been debunked a long time ago. But because Temple Grandin has it, and she didn't have the shots that they thought caused autism. Myth number 3. It is caused by poor parenting, and these children are just nothing but kids that are looking for attention. No. Because let me tell you something, once again, when Mom took me to Cleveland Clinic, and this was way back in 1987 when nobody understood anything about it, that it just happens, guys. It just happens, okay? And I never felt like I was looking for attention at all whenever I had any meltdowns. And there were times when I had meltdowns and I was totally unaware of what was going on around me. And a lot of times when I was upset, it would be something that I was upset about previously. So this other thing about autism: you're born with it. It's a brain disorder that its symptoms vary from person to person and in severity. and many smart people, they thought of being on the autism spectrum. Look at this thing right here I'm holding an iPhone 12, and Apple is the creator of the iPhones, and they think that even though he was never formally diagnosed with the condition, it was suspected that Steve Jobs, who was the founder or co-founder of Apple, had some form of autism because he did have a lot of the symptoms of the condition. And when he died back in 2011, he was one of the richest men in the world at the time. And also, Bill Gates has been, if I'm not mistaken, he's been formally diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, which used to be in the old DSM. And he's also one of the richest and the smartest people in the world. He's the founder of Microsoft. Okay. My next question is, what goes through my mind, and how is my mind affected by autism? Me personally, I'm one of those that has got this rote memory thing, and I can remember everything that happened, good and bad, of every major and minor situation that happened in my life. This includes the dates and the times of the event, what I was wearing. And unfortunately, I still remember a lot of negative things that were said about me. And because of that, it's really difficult for me to deal with my emotions and to not have worries that a person is going to say something like that to me again. And plus, it also makes it hard for me to forgive other people. And I know that you're supposed to, and I try, but the memories are hard. And most people would not remember the things that I remember. And number two, I pick up on minor details that most people wouldn't see, and a lot of times I don't always see the big picture of a situation. I mean, this is in anything. And these minor details can be anything externally or internally. But like when I was little, I used to be terrified of everything. Like I was oversensitive about some things, and a lot of autistic people have that, and if they don't have that, they're either, well, they've got the hyposensitivity. I had a little bit of both. I was hypersensitive to stuff going on around me. Like I would see something in the corner of a room and I would be like, oh my gosh, like what is that? Like, for example, when I was 11 years old, I went through a phase of being like terrified to look at this owl picture that was hanging in our living room. And I couldn't stand it. Like, it was terrifying. It creeped me out to look at it. And I took it down. And that is what is a sensory issue. And you can also have these overactive sensory issues if you have a hearing or hey Bodie, or a vision disorder, as well as feeling stuff. For example, I had hearing loss that required me to have tubes in my ears, and I literally did, but even though I had that hearing loss, I could still hear things that most people didn't pick up on because it was the way my brain processed things. And when I was a teenager, I started feeling physical symptoms like within my own body, and it would cause me panic attacks, and a lot of times I would feel like I was dying. Like, I would have over or under sensitivity to pain, and sometimes, and I would have panic attacks too, which would make my heart race and stuff. And I would think that the worst. And a lot of that was because of my hypersensitivity of the way that I felt things, as described in this thing right here. Number 3, I memorize stuff a lot of times without understanding the big picture or something. And this has been an issue for me in the past with academic issues, with school. I would still not get the best grades because I could never understand the full picture of a situation, but I always memorized it. For example, like, I took math class, and whenever I would be in my tutoring, that we would go over the steps to a problem, and I would memorize it, but I never could understand the big picture of how the math problem would work. And I often had that in social situations, and I still do. Bodie, what are you doing? Sorry, I don't know what my cat's just wanting to hang out with me. One of them is. And as much as I hate to say it, there's so many misconceptions about autism. And the biggest one that I have experienced most of my life is being told that I was mean. But then, on the flip side, I would also be told that I was too serious and that I needed to lighten up a bit. One time, I got the idea, I don't know if this was just my misunderstanding of things, but the words that came out of this person's mouth said that I did not listen to what the doctor told me to do. I did, and to my advantage, I always, from the time I could remember, I always did my best to follow advice from a doctor. When I was in high school, I took my medication religiously and I always mentioned it to my psychiatrist if I had any concerns about anything. Which I never could understand that. And then the other thing, why that would be said, was when I had braces, and prior to that, I was religious about doing what my orthodontist told me to do. I brushed and brushed and brushed my teeth religiously. And I wore my retainer religiously for 7 years until after I had my braces off, and then it just wore out one day. And I just don't feel like people understood it, because there's only when you have an autism spectrum disorder, there's only so much that you can do. And the best thing that I've always tried to do, which is the old standby, even when I was in high school, I was super religious about taking care of my skin. I never smoked. I didn't like tanning beds, and I only used them in my life for super special occasions. And I always try to eat right, and always try to drink water. Even though I had the sensory issues that made exercise difficult, but I've always tried to do things to my ability to get good exercise. And as my next point, as a Christian, we are called to treat others better than ourselves. And because of my autism, it's been really difficult for me. And not only with my autism, but I also suffer from a little bit of the symptoms of 3 major anxiety disorders: obsessive compulsive disorder, panic disorder, and generalized anxiety disorder. And all of that makes it really frustrating to deal with the autism symptoms. So what was the goal in making this? I wanted to just try to give you guys an idea of how a high-functioning autism brain works. Before and in conclusion, you need to try to think of autism as another illness and try to treat someone with autism the way you would with someone that had a heart problem or someone that was in a wheelchair, because it's a disability and it's a different type of disability. And with autism, there's 3 different types of it, and it can range from mild to, like what I have, to very severe. And in order to help a person with autism, you have to understand the way their brain works. And number 2, be patient with autistic people. And as a Christian, I've seen this happen a lot, but I just feel like there's so many people that are so judgmental towards people with autism as compared to other chronic conditions. And I've said this in my speech twice, I think. And unfortunately, I've seen it happen among Christians. And as Christians, we're supposed to be praying for people with autism. And I grew up in a church environment, and I do want to mention the Apostle Paul. If you don't understand this, he wrote the majority of the New Testament, and he was a murderer before he turned to Christianity, because it says that in Acts chapter 9. So I want you to think of that idea when you're dealing with someone on the spectrum. And I'm sorry to be saying this, but it just feels like it needs to be said. Number 3, here's my views on how you should, on being a Christian and being, dealing with people on the autism. And why am I bringing in being a Christian for, is because Easter is normally in April, and I do believe that you will be forgiven for your... I don't believe that a person will be held accountable for their autism, because it's a brain disorder, and God understands. He understands our heart better than what we know ourselves. And my cousin was in a month ago, and and she has autism, and I told her about that. It makes sense that they would go to heaven no matter what when they die. And I'm assuming, I believe that. But I studied the Bible a lot in my lifetime, and I truly, when I'm in a good mood, I believe that people like me and my cousin will go to heaven when we die, no matter what, because, like I said, God understands us. And as mentioned, or not mentioned, everybody if you're human, you're gonna have sinful desires. I hope that I was able to talk about some important issues, and whenever I get this posted, I hope that no one will say anything negative to me to my face about it or in comments. And if you don't care, just keep your mouth shut if you have anything negative to say. This includes to my face and in the comments. So, thank you. Bye.